Hey guys, it's Kat. So if you watched my last video, then you saw that I have been planning on filming a video about opening up your own online shop. I've had quite a few questions about it and I've helped a few people start their own online shop, and I thought it was time for me to film a series about it. This first video is kind of going to be just the basics of the beginning of opening up the shop. I don't know why I'm doing this. The second video is going to be fully about shipping, like the process of once you made a sale and where I buy my shipping supplies, everything. And the third video is just going to kind of be wrapping it up, going on from there, advertising, I don't know, stuff like that. So I'm filming on my webcam. I've never done this before. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm not used to being able to see myself while I film. I'll do my best not to keep looking down. Anyway, so the first thing I'm just going to touch on is where should you sell? So there are quite a few places online that you can open up your own online shop. There's Etsy, there's eBay, there's Store Envy, there's Big Cartel. You can open up an online shop on Instagram or Facebook just using PayPal and having people, like, I guess, bid on or comment on items that they want, and then you just send them an invoice through PayPal. So there's a lot of different ways, and there's pros and cons to pretty much everything. So there's a lot that I could get into with all of them, but I'm just going to kind of, like I said, touch on a few things. With Etsy, you can only sell handmade items, vintage items, or upcycled items. And what that basically means is you cannot sell anything that you recently bought somewhere, I guess, like gently used items that is not yours, except unless you upcycled it, I guess. Okay, so say you bought something from Target and you wore it a few times. You can't just sell it on Etsy, but if you bought something from Target and you wore it a few times and then you cut it into a halter top and painted something on it, you could sell that on Etsy. So there are rules and regulations for selling on Etsy, so that's something to take into consideration. Etsy also charges 20 cents for everything you, yes, 20 cents per listing. So every time you list something, you get charged 20 cents. So, but like I said, that's something to take into consideration because some of the other sites don't. I'm not sure which ones don't. I'm pretty sure that Store Envy doesn't. I did open a Store Envy a while back and I haven't put anything on it yet, but I've heard good things about it. It's actually growing pretty big right now, so definitely look into that if you're interested in opening an online shop. I know it's completely free and you can sell anything on there, so you can sell your gently used clothes, so that's nice. If you have the type of items that you think people are going to bid it out on, then eBay is the place to go because you can make a lot more money on eBay if that's the case. So there are a lot of things to think about, but definitely a lot of options are nice. So it's just a matter of doing a lot of research. If you know what you're going to sell, but you're still not sure, you can definitely comment it down below and I'll kind of give you an idea of where I would sell that item at, be it, like a craft that you do or whatever. So definitely ask me questions. I don't mind at all. So once you figure out where you're going to sell your items at, I would say the next step obviously would be to pick a shop name. I know on Etsy you can't change your name for a certain amount of months after you've set it. So, you do want to choose a good name, but still don't stress over it. For me, it was easy because I knew that I wanted to keep the same brand over the board on my social networkings and my shop because I wanted to be Catherine Thrifts everywhere so you guys would know where to find me. The only thing I can think of is, don't have a shop name that's completely irrelevant to what you're selling. Don't be Cameras Are Fun as your shop name or username and then sell, skirts. Because that makes no sense at all. People are going to think you're selling cameras. Obviously. Simple stuff like that, The third thing that I want to talk about is inventory. This is big. It's the next thing that you're going to want to do, obviously, is to build your inventory. If you're hand making something, if you're going to be knitting mittens and that's your entire shop thing, then you want to have a bunch of mittens. You want to have a bunch of mittens knitted? Yeah, you want to have a bunch of mittens completed for your shop. Before you really open your shop, you want to have it all nice and completed. And inventory is important because that's what brings people in. On Etsy, if I list a bunch of items at once, they're all going to show up in, whatever category that I listed them in. So the skirt's going to show up in skirts. So as soon as I list it, people can search, polka dot skirt, and my listing would probably be under it because my listing is going to be tagged under it, so they're going to see it under it. So it's important that you get a bunch of items up and you make sure you tag them properly and you get them up there. And what I'm realizing now is if you really want this to be a part-time job or maybe eventually a full-time job, instead of just a little bit of extra cash every once in a while, it's important to build an inventory if you want to make it where you're making the money that you want to make. But I feel like I'm just making a lot of run-on sentences, so hopefully you guys are understanding what I'm saying. So right now I have about 65 items on my shop. I should have at least double that, if not more. So, it's a matter of having space and time and, energy to be able to get out there and build your inventory. And you're putting faith and trust in the fact that these items are going to sell because you're spending money on these items with the hope that, it's going to turn around and sell. So it's really important though to build your inventory. You have to put money into a business to make money out of it. So don't be afraid to build your inventory. Don't be afraid to buy, and just jump right in. Because, I know people who open up a shop and might put up like 10 items, and it's kind of like, if someone doesn't like those 10 items, they're not going to come back because they're not going to know if you're going to keep adding items because you have so little. But when you see someone with a bunch of items, you know that they're constantly adding items, so that's just something to think about. I just definitely wanted to share with you guys that because it's what I'm working on right now, and it's hopefully what's going to push me forward in my online shop succeeding. The final thing that I'm going to talk about in this video is just preparing your items for sale. And this means after you've bought the items, if you're doing clothing like I am, after you've washed them and you're, ready to put them up, things that you need to do. Number one, you need to measure them because sizes are so unpredictable. You never know if a size of one shirt is going to be the same as a size of another one, even if they have the same tag size. Tag size is not reliable. Excuse me. So you want to go by measuring. So what I do is whenever I know I'm going to put up like 10 items, I make a space on the floor, a flat space, and I lay out my items flat, and I take my measuring tape and I measure the items and I write down all the measurements. I measure the sleeves, I measure the waist, the bust, the length, whatever I think I need to measure, I measure. And then if anybody asks for more measurements, I measure that as well. If you're doing clothing like I do, at this point I usually also model the items after I've measured them, and I take the photos of myself modeling them because having people see you in the item really helps. They can see what it looks like, and that can determine whether or not the item sells. So I usually do that at that point. So the next thing that I want to talk about is pricing the item. And just really the one thing I want to reiterate is to not sell yourself short. You're the one who, if it's a vintage item, you're the one who, went through the thrift stores and dug through the stuff and found the item. And, you're the one who's done the work for it. One of the things that I like to do is I like to search for the item, through Google, through eBay, through Etsy, and try to find items similar to what I'm getting ready to list and see like an average price range. And sometimes I use that to determine my price, and sometimes I don't at all. Sometimes I just completely go what in my head I believe the price should be. It's really going to be up to you what you decide to price your items at, but you really have to think about it and just don't be afraid. That's all I'm going to say. So those are the main things that I wanted to touch on this first video. I know that a lot of them were kind of like common sense stuff, and the next video is really what's going to be helpful to people who have already opened up the shop but haven't put anything up yet, or that haven't made any sales and they really want to learn about the shipping process. So definitely there's going to be a lot more information in the next video. So hopefully this video did help somebody in some way, and if you have any questions at all, definitely leave them in the comments. I will answer anything you guys have to ask me. You can send me a personal message on here. You can send me messages on Etsy and through my Facebook. I have 2 Facebooks for Catherine Thrifts. One's for my YouTube and one is for my Etsy. Anyway, so now that you can contact me in a million different ways, just let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you guys in my next video.